Hi, welcome to Dan's Solfège Trainer, exercise 3A, Mars and Jupiter. This exercise will get you used to singing all the thirds in the major scale. What is a third? A third is the span of notes from C to E, from 1 to 3, or from Do to Mi. The slightly more detailed but still painless music theory lesson is after the exercise, but first, get good at singing the 4 sections of this exercise. Let's start with a short warm-up. Here it is. Do, mi, re, fa, mi, so, fa, re, do. Now, you really can use this as a warm-up. Just repeat it like this. Ready? Go. Do, mi, re, fa, mi, so, fa, re, do. And again, higher. Do, mi, re, fa, mi, so, fa, re, do. And again. Do, mi, re, fa, mi, so, fa, re, do. Do, mi, re, fa, mi, so, fa, re, do. Now, you may have found that the syllable pairs like do, mi, and re, fa, and so on, they don't come that quickly to you at first. That's very normal. That's what we drill in part 2, Mars and Jupiter. If you don't have the solfège down yet, you can sing this exercise on the words Mars and Jupiter, and it goes like this. 1, 2, ready, go. Do, mi, do, re, fa, re, mi, so, mi, fa, la, fa, so, ti, so, la, do, ti, re, do, so, do. Now, a lot of these exercises will have little endings or tags. They're just meant to be fun. You'll pick them up as you practice. Don't sweat them. In this one, the tag is do, so, do. Let's do that one again. 1, 2, ready, go. Do, mi, re, fa, mi, so, fa, la, fa, so, ti, so, la, do, ti, re, do, so, do. Okay, in part 3, eat your heart out. We drill the same pairs, but now we're descending instead of ascending. First one is slow. 1, 2, ready, go. Do, la, do, ti, so, la, fa, so, mi, so, fa, re, fa, mi, do, mi, re, ti, do, re, mi, do. Now, fast. 1, 2, ready, go. Do, la, do, ti, so, la, fa, so, mi, so, fa, mi, do, mi, re, ti, do, re, mi, do. Part 4, Bumblebee. Different versions of this exercise are in common usage in many choirs, so if you have some choral experience under your belt, you may have sung something like this. Now this one is in B flat major. You often hear things like this. Bee, bumblebee, 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 bee, bumblebee, bumblebee, bumblebee. Or you may be used to a version that makes slightly more sense. I don't know why it came down to me that way. The words kind of get chopped up, sounds like it's been through a war or two. Anyway, if you do that in solfège, it's like this. Slow version. 1, 2, ready, go. Do, mi, re, fa, mi, so, fa, la, so, ti, la, do, ti, re, do. Mi, do, re, ti, do, la, ti, so, la, fa, so, mi, fa, re, do. And the fast version, with no hand signals, is do, mi, re, fa, mi, so, fa, la, so, ti, la, do, ti, re, do. Mi, do, re, ti, do, la, ti, so, la, fa, so, mi, fa, re, do. Quick, painless music theory lesson. What is a third? Watch this if you are confused. Terms you need. Scale. A scale is a set of notes. Like the white keys, but not the black keys on the piano keyboard. Those notes form the C major scale. There are 7 notes in that scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. And if you keep going up, they repeat. That's what a scale is. You can use any C, any D, any E, but you don't use F sharps, for example. Many songs use the notes from only one scale, one collection of notes. Scale degree, one of the notes in a scale. If you have 7 scale degrees, you can number them 1 through 7, or you can call them do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, and ti, which is a lot more fun when you get to the weird stuff. More on that another time. Interval. An interval is the span between any 2 scale degrees. An interval is the span, not the distance. That's an important distinction, because for some historical reason, doesn't matter why, we don't use 0 in the way that we count intervals. If you're on a C, you don't move at all, and you end up on the same C. There is an interval name for that. It's called a prime or a unison. You might call it a first. But what you don't call it is a 0. 0 is not part of the interval notation system. But 0 would be the distance moved. Because of that, if you move up by 1 note, you have covered a span of 2 notes, and you have moved by what we call a second. Back to thirds, if you move by a third, that is a movement up of 2 notes, covering a total span of 3 notes. If you understand the distinction between span and distance, you won't be lost for intervals. So do up to mi is a span of 3 notes with a movement of 2 notes, and since we name it by the span and not the distance, we call it a third. A little note about how to use Dan's Solfège Trainer. All the exercises with the number 3 are targeting thirds. The exercises with the number 4 target fourths, and so on. If you are going sequentially, we haven't talked much about intervals yet, because without much thinking, it's easy to sing up and down in seconds. You're just moving stepwise. You're not making any leaps. Once you are making leaps, like thirds and fourths, it's good to have words for the distinction between wider leaps and narrower leaps. So we have thirds all the way up through octaves. Those are the simple intervals. Finally, something you don't need to know yet. You might have heard of major thirds and minor thirds. Major and minor are interval qualities, and there are still other interval qualities like perfect, diminished, and augmented. As you get started in movable do solfege, you don't really need to worry about them yet. If you aren't feeling ready for thirds yet, head back to exercise 2A, spinning endless spinning, where you can practice your seconds until they are second nature. If you feel good about thirds and you're ready for the next concept, learn about triads in exercise 3B, primary Dear Watson. And if singing more before you learn more music theory is your next step, go on to 4A, stubbed my toe, ow. Thanks for doing solfege with me. Have a great practice.